take us too long. Don't test the speed. That one. Not yet. There we go. And I think I can hear myself pretty well. Hopefully. But the stream's up, the chat's up, we're all good to go, I do believe. Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the 7th round of the AM1 Championship on Contest of Speed. This is the Australian Grand Prix at Melbourne's Albert Park circuit, our 5.3 kilometre or 3.3 mile 16 turn racetrack. It was opened in 1996, replacing the Adelaide Street Circuit, the home of the first ever Australian Grand Prix. Since then, it has become the traditional season opener in modern Formula One. Though I must say, all the hype that comes with this place is only there because it's a season opener. As an Australian, not a big fan of this place. I'm really not. It's not a great race track. Some don't mind it as a driver's circuit. There's definitely some flowy sections to the racetrack, particularly at the end of Sector 1, beginning of Sector 2. And of course you have the demanding turns 11 and 12 that are on the racetrack as well. That tends to catch quite a number of drivers out, particularly when drivers are on the limit in qualifying. Other than that though, in my own opinion at least, it's not a very great racetrack. I haven't seen too many great races around here, though I have seen a couple. So basically what I'm saying is let's just be optimistic and see what we see. Just hope that we get to see some good racing around here. We'll probably see a fair amount of drama, particularly at turn 12. It's quite a demanding part of the racetrack. I've seen over my time as a commentator many accidents coming through turn 12, so definitely a hot spot for us as spectators to look out for, and also for the drivers to look out for. But just to give you a bit of a guided tour of the racetrack, we're right on board with the Williams here. Vamu Niubel, I'm going to struggle pronouncing that, dear me. He's coming through turns 1 and 2, very fast section of the racetrack to begin with, along the second DRS zone into turn 3, the most prominent overtaking spot on the racetrack. Out of 3 into turn 4, 4th gear, 5th gear, 6th gear, round turn 5, where I've seen a few accidents over my time as a commentator as well, another hot spot to look out for. Through turn 7, then into turn 8, a long sweeper into turns 9 and 10, which won't exist, or at least won't be used as part of the racetrack in 2021. That's effectively being shortcutted with the new layout. Coming into turn 11, 7th gear, then turn 12. See there, it's so easy to run wide onto the grass. And if you do, you're probably going to spin out and have a meet and greet with one of the barriers lining the racetrack. Round turn 14, then into the final 2 bends, turns 15, 2nd gear, and then turn 60, 3rd gear, 4th gear. Critical that you get a good exit because it's quite a long run from the final corner to the start-finish line. The Williams set a 1 minute 20.856 benchmark time being laid down there. Stone Tao making his way through, and he catches it well. We have a few more benchmark times being set. Fenrique currently quickest out of the bunch with a 19.5. Fenrique put on a stellar performance at Bahrain, winning for the first time in this championship season, though last week at Sakhir International Circuit it was quite dramatic, to say the least. One of the more dramatic races I have ever seen. We've seen the big dogs like COS Nicholas and SWM Alp get into quite a bit of trouble over the course of that race. Both of them finishing well outside the points, if memory serves me right. And as a result, Fenrique took victory. A few more times being set down. Arbar currently in third with a 20 flat. Currently 4/10 off Nicholas and P2. See what Bodhod's up to. He's going into the pits. For me, expectations are a bit high for Bodhod. He lives about 30 minutes away from the racetrack. Bodhod, living in Victoria. Unlike me, who lives in New South Wales, and unfortunately for me in New South Wales, where I'm at anyway, there is bugger all racetracks around me, which is quite unfortunate. I do have a few small sort of karting tracks here and there, but no major racetracks anywhere near me. But I've got plenty of bush trails nearby. Sort of fuels my first ever passion for motorsport rallying. It's always been my greatest passion in motor racing. I've got heaps of those, just country roads, all with loose gravel just dotted everywhere around the place. So though I don't get a lot of circuit racing, there's plenty of rallying going on around where I live. United Bosnia, rounding the final turn. See what the Swede can do. Jumps to P11 with a 21 flat. Only 2/10 off Vamu in the Williams. So it's fairly close in terms of the times. We'll just quickly switch it from fastest lap to leader. 2 seconds. And we still have plenty of time left in the session as well. So these guys can improve. So I imagine it's going to be quite close in the end. Hopefully we get a nice qualifying session. Might compensate a little bit for the race if it is a bit boring. SWM Beam will cross the line. Set a 1 minute 20.7. I think all of these guys are on soft tyres, they are. Andy Wu isn't though in the McLaren. He's on a set of mediums. He's coming through the first sector. Rounds turn 4. Towards turn 5, uses the curve nicely, doesn't spin the car out, keeping it well within the white lines. Now in terms of raw pace, the medium tyre, according to the game, is just over a second slower initially. Of course, when a race goes on and tyre wear becomes a thing, that delta between the soft and medium tyre changes, but initially it's about 1 second. So we'll use that as a bit of a marker for Andy. If he does set a time on the soft tyre, we'll have a rough idea of where he should be. There is a Alfa Romeo or Ferrari off. It's a Ferrari, it's AMRAM. He's got a Red Bull coming up behind him, that's Bean. I think Bean is on an in-lap. Although, I don't know. As AMRAM goes off the racetrack, he would have done himself a bit of a favour there if he just moved out of the way on the straight. But yeah, decides to go head on into turn 13, straight on, using the bit of runoff area that is there. As Andy does a 21 flat, so effectively take that a second away, and he's looking at a top 5 in qualifying. That's if he can sort of replicate his lap on the medium tyre. So Andy looks pretty strong on those mediums. Command Bodhod has invalidated. Lunacy's on an outlap, giving way to cars on flying laps. Speaking of, Fenrique, currently second behind his teammate who was set a 1 minute 19.1. That's double M out, just... my God, he showed this sort of pace in Bahrain, but he got into quite a bit of trouble last week, and as a result, didn't score anything. So he'll be hoping to at least get a decent finish here at Albert Park, and he's showing his strong form at the moment, sitting pretty at the top of the table, almost 4/10 ahead of his teammate, who crosses the line to set a 19.2. The two Mercedes-Benzes looking incredibly strong right now. Aber he is on a flying lap. He's coming towards the end of the first sector. See what Sector 1 says. Up by a tenth and a half. With that sort of pace, he's cracking into the 19s. Needs to find another 3 or so tenths of a second if he wants to challenge Nicholas in P3. Peyton coming towards the end of his lap. PB of a 20.3. Peyton sets a 20.2. Fifth fastest at the moment. Vermeer has invalidated Mitch Burns. Up by almost a tenth in the first sector. Coming through the second right now. Got an Alfa Romeo in front. Either Lopez or Bodhod. JCK has crashed out at turn 4. Our first retirement in qualifying. I've done this myself in the recent past. There he is, stricken on the racing line as well. So anyone on a flying lap might get impeded by that Ferrari. Fortunately, the two Red Bulls, I think, yes, both of them are on outlap, so they needn't worry. And I saw an Alfa Romeo come through there as well. That wasn't Lopez, that was Bodhod. And I think Bodhod just might have been on a flying lap. So just notice no, he's invalidated, so he's coming into the pits. He was up by 2 tenths. He was looking at an 18 with that sort of pace. Amram, what does your first sector look like? 26.7. Hasn't set a personal best. Currently 19th in the order as a result. Coming around turn 10 along the back straight towards turns 11 and 12. 7th gear, revving it out in 7th gear. Keeps it in 7th through the 2 turns. Sticks it well. He's got traffic in front though. Bursey, he'll get out of the way. And then there's Andy on a set of softs on an out lap. Ooh, a bit shaky there for Amram in the Ferrari. Late on the brakes there. Sort of missed the apex there, Amram, as the Ferrari rounds the final turn with DRS open. He'll come up to the line to set a 1 minute 20.642. Goes 11th fastest. Now Andy's on a flying lap. We'll have a look at the sector times here for the McLaren driver. Comes around turn 3, 2nd gear. Gently on the throttle. 3rd gear, 4th gear. Dab on the brake. Then back onto the accelerator. Round turn 5. At the moment Andy's pretty solid. Up by 3.5 tenths of a second. Big improvement in the first sector. Nicholas coming towards the end of his flying lap. Just over 5 minutes left in the session. He has DRS open. He'll cross the line to set a 1 minute 19.4. Stays 3rd fastest. Just over a tenth behind Fenrique in the Mercedes-Benz. Andy now up by 6 tenths of a second in the second sector. Now around the final sector he comes. Around the final turn now. Modulating the throttle. Trying to maximize the exit without losing momentum. Crosses the line to set a 19.8. Improves by 1.2 seconds. So that's the delta between the softs and the mediums. I wasn't kidding. It's about a second initially. And Andy has demonstrated that perfectly. Being inside the top 10 on a set of mediums. Interesting. He has those fitted on. And that's the best time he's set on the medium tyres as well. So he's planning to start in the top 10 doing the alternate strategy. With him doing the alternate strategy, he was quite strong at Bahrain. It was quite an unfortunate safety car at the end of the race that really destroyed his chances of winning. But we'll see what he can do. If he can stay inside the top 10, of course. Still have some drivers down the order on those soft tyres looking to improve as Fenrique invalidates. Still pressing on with the lap though. He'll be trying to get back into the pits as soon as possible, I imagine. He's low on fuel. You can see the flashing red fuel icon in the bottom right. He'll be darting back into the pits. Try and get a bit of fuel back into the car and set another flying lap. Let's have a look. Yes, he's coming in. Ava has no worries at the moment. Completes the first sector with a 2/10 improvement. So he's looking to crack into the 19s as well. Round turn 10. Right up against the wall at the exit. Rounds back straight away, quote unquote, because it's definitely not straight, up by almost half a second. Cuts as much as he dares there at turn 12. I'm surprised that didn't invalidate him. Round turn 13, uses the exit curb there as much as he dares. Round turn 14. Then the final two turns, turns 15 and 16. Second gear, modulates the throttle. Third, fourth, fifth gear on the exit. DRS open, it's a straight dash to the line. What does Arbar do? A 19.380. Goes third fastest, overtaking COS Nicholas there. Though Nicholas is now on an outlap, he's got one shot to try and improve on his current personal best of 1 minute 19.399. Alp is on a flyer, up by a 1/10 and a quarter in the first sector. He's coming towards the second sector. See what he does. Up by 2/10. My word, this is sideways, unbelievable car control there. Round turn 13. He is pushing to the limit. 14. Then the final two curves, turns 15 and 16. Modulates the throttle. Fourth gear, fifth gear, short shifting to minimize the wheel spin. DRS open. SWM out, jumps into the 18s. A mega lap time. 1 minute 18.679. Unbelievable. That is ridiculous. Fenrique is still in the pit, so I think Fenrique's session is done. He won't be improving. Can anyone challenge that lap time? It's an incredibly tall mountain to climb. Can anyone do it? There's a Williams just off there. Not sure who that is, but fortunately Nicholas didn't seem to be too impeded by that. Round turn 3, then turn 4. Gently on the throttle. Round turn 5, 6th gear, 7th gear on the exit. Sector 1 is coming up now. Down by 2/10, so he must have been impeded by that Williams. That is a lot of time lost and invalidated. Nicholas's session is done. Andy, though, he's not done. Up by a 1/10. Though a scrappy turn 6 and 7 from the looks of things. That didn't look right on my screen. We'll see what Sector 2 looks like when he comes up to it. Oh, and invalidates at turn 10. Pushing too hard there. The Stone Towel at the moment on fire in 6th place. The Australians representing well in P6-7. Lunacy retiring in the pit lane. He's down in 13th. Purple to the second sector, apparently, the Stone Towel. Coming around the final sector now. Maximising the width of the racetrack. Rounds turns 15 and then the final turn, turn 16. Bodhod session is done. Doing a 20.2 effectively. The Stone Towel does a 1 minute 19.796. Goes 5th fastest. Overtaking Andy at the death. Stone Towel would be very, very happy with that. P-Dog Payton in the AlphaTauri. Coming up to the final 2 turns on the racetrack, currently 9th fastest. As Bean on the soft tyre does a 19 flat. Okay, so he decided to qualify on the soft compound. He's gone up to P2 alongside Alp. Wingett is going into the pit, so that is qualifying over. Absolutely unbelievable lap time at the top of it. 1 minute 18.679. Alp, that is a quick lap. Bean in second place with a 19 flat. Fenrique in third with a 19.278. Narbar will start alongside him in fourth with a 1 minute 19.380. Field fairly close together in the end. You see this sometimes in Australia where the qualifying tends to be quite competitive, fairly close, but there is a man at the top, sort of leagues in front. 3 1/4 tenths of a second in front of Bean there. That is a ridiculous lap time. See here, the top 10 separated by 1.5 seconds, but if you get rid of Alp's time, it's just over a second between P2 to P10. It's fairly close indeed. The entire field separated by 2.6 seconds. And that's only because Lopez is still learning with the wheel. I'm sure he'll be able to set a much more competitive lap time on the pad, but he's practicing with the wheel still, trying to work out the kinks of that. But you can see the entirety of the top 10 will be starting on the soft compound tyre. It'll be interesting to see what the drivers outside the 10 do in terms of strategy, whether they start on the medium or the hard compound. According to the game, the soft tyre can do about 12 laps and the mediums can do 18. The race itself is 29 laps long, so theoretically you can do a soft to medium race. The hard tyre can do 24 laps, but initially the hard tyre is 1.5 seconds slower than the softs, making it half a second slower than the mediums. So it is considerably slower, but the hards can last a long time, 24 laps. And I think for the majority of the soft runners inside the top 10, the soft to hard strategy will be the one to go with. Of course, if we have safety cars or virtual safety cars, we may see something change in regards to strategy, if they do come about, of course. Currently, it looks pretty clear. I've seen no weather reports, so I don't think we'll be seeing any sort of wet weather coming our way. And the drivers will set off on their formation lap, and we'll have a look at who's on what tyre for this race. So, we know the top 10, all of them, starting on the soft compound. What about the drivers outside? Bursey in P11, starting on a set of mediums. Very interesting indeed, actually. 4 drivers on the softs. Wingett, P12 on the soft tyre. Lunacy in P13 on the mediums, same with Famu. So the 2 Williams on the same strategy. Amram P15 rather on a set of softs. Mitch Burns as well in P16. United Bosnia in 17th on a set of mediums. Same with Lopez, who was doing a bit of sliding there just to show off. And JCK, after retiring in qualifying with his big smash at turn 4, he's got all the work to do, but he's on the quickest tyre, the soft compound, so he'll be planning to cut his way through the lower half of the field, try and get back up towards the top 10, see what he can do from there. That's, of course, if he can cut his way through the field in the first place. As I've mentioned, there's not too many overtaking opportunities on the racetrack. The only realistic one is turn 3. Other than that, it's pretty difficult to overtake around here. So, but we'll see what these guys can do. But Alp will be rounding the final corner, be leading the field back onto the grid for the start of this Australian Grand Prix here at Melbourne. 19 cars on the grid, almost a full field. Hopefully with more cars on the grid, yeah, plenty of action to look at. Everyone's lining up into their respective grid slots. Let's get this race underway. We'll just be waiting on JCK, United Bosnia. There we go. Everyone's lined up. Everyone is ready to race. And here we go at Albert Park. We have 1 light, 2 lights, 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 red lights. And it's lights out. And away we go. And I think Nicholas has converted well. He has. Down the inside. He will lead the field into turn 1. Arbar follows. Makes contact. Spins round. Oh, dearie me. What an unfortunate set of circumstances for the Renault driver. He falls to the back of the field. The rest of the midfield, though, still scrapping it out for position. Bean. And I believe this is Andy scrapping it out for position here. There's the predicted tyre stop strategy. As I thought, soft to hard, probably the way to go. Bodhod has spun round. Oh dear, the bad luck run continues for Bodhod. He's had wretched luck in the past few races on F1 2020, and it seems to be ongoing. He's now down in second last, but the driver starting from P4, now down in last place, Arba making contact with Alp at turn 1, and as a result, is now in plumb last at the back of the field. Bean leading the way. Alp in second. Oh, hang on, what's happened to Fenrique? He's just lost a ton of places there. Falls down to 7th. Around turn 14. And around turns 15 and 16 come the leaders, and oh, that's Lopez. Lopez has spun round, and he's got damage as well as a result, so he'll have to come into the pits and get that replaced. Bean doing a solid job, a great conversion off the line, having the inside line heading towards turn 1. Out, nothing he could have done there, just not a great conversion. Arba had a real go at it at turn 1, trying to get by. The Renault made contact, front wheel contact with the side pod, and knowing the game, when you have that sort of contact, car just sort of spins round spontaneously. You see it all the time. Fenrique putting pressure on Peyton. Fenrique must have made a mistake at turn 12. Perhaps half spinning the car. He doesn't appear to have any damage. Got using a little bit of overtake there. Though he's got Winged all over the back, and Lunacy is out. A big crash. Oh, both Williams are out. JCK is the wrong way round. And a safety car has been deployed. JCK, he needs to get it the right way. Oof. So both Williams... Oh, and that's a reset to circuit if ever I saw one. I'll probably be looked at. Into the pits. Bean. And Nicholas. So it'll be a double stack for Red Bull. But it's a gamble that Nicholas is willing to take. He could have stayed out, but he's not. He's elected to come in. Andy has done the same in the McLaren. So these guys are taking a gamble. As I said, the hard tyre can do 24 laps. So your pit window is lap 5, at the end of lap 5. And they're going to be doing 2 or 3 laps under safety car here. So they'll go back under green flag running at the end of lap 5, I imagine. So theoretically speaking, these guys are in the window to get to the finish of the race, get to the end of the race. But they're now down in P11, 12 and 13. There's a lot of cars in between them to the guys they have to be worrying about, most notably Alp, Fenrique. The Stone Tower has shown superb pace in qualifying, so perhaps we'll see him be quite strong here. But that has given a bit of a reprieve to those who got damaged or were... lost a lot of time on the first lap, particularly drivers like Arba, JCK, Lopez, and also Bodhod, who spun out on the opening lap as well. He's in 10th place on 2 lap-old softs. But a bit of a pause to things. Now, we could probably check out Race Director just ever so briefly. See all the pit stops that took place. So Lopez onto softs with a front wing change. Bean, Andy, Nicholas and Arba, these are strategic pit stops. I understand with Arba, it's a bit of a risk, but after being spun out at turn 1 on lap 1, he's taking a risk to try and get his way back through the field. But these guys, it's a strategic call to go from leading the race, going into pits, going onto the hard tyre. They can make it to the end, but they have to pray that Alp doesn't pull out a massive lead right at the beginning. JCK getting off the soft tyre, front wing change as well. So with Kitten Petter, he got wing damage and a double stack as well for McLaren, so it was a longer stop for Kitten. Not only that, we also have all the incidents. So there's a warning collision for Arba and for Alp. They both got warnings and a whole heap of track extending going on here with United Bosnia, Lopez, Fenrique, Kitten Petter, Vamu, Bodhod, Mitch Burns, Bean, Fenrique. Bean again. So Bean's already on 2 warnings and 2 DNFs as well. Both Williams out of the race. Actually, as Fenrique goes off the track briefly, we might be going back under green flag racing earlier than I thought. And there we go. So 1 lap earlier than I thought it was going to be. So we'll be back under green flag racing at the end of lap 4, not the end of lap 5. The Alp will now control the field, allow the safety car to go back into the pit lane safely, and he'll decide when to go. He's got the stone towel on the back of him. Then P-Dog Payton, then Alp's teammate Fenrique in 4th, with Wingett in 5th. Gently on the accelerator, and he goes with 2 corners to go. Goes through turn 15 and then turn 16. Has pulled out an 8/10 margin as Fenrique gets past Payton. Now and he's let him back past. And he's fallen behind Wingett, who slams on the brakes. Oh dear, a bit of a messy restart there. But you can... Now, why that was so messy is because you are not allowed to overtake a car during a safety car restart until you cross the control line. And the control line here at Albert Park is the start-finish line. On other circuits, it's generally the finish line, because where you start a race and where you finish a lap tend to be a bit different. Like Silverstone, for example, you start about 3/4 down the straight, but the finish line is literally at the exit of Club Corner. But here at Albert Park, the control line is the start-finish line, and you're not allowed to overtake. And we saw Fenrique overtake Payton. He redressed the position. Wingett then got past. Then Wingett had to redress. And as a result, actually Bursey has fallen back behind Wingett in 6th place. But yeah, just a bit of a messy restart between those 3. What wasn't messy is this man. Alp has already pulled away 2.2 seconds. He's putting the hammer down. Bono has given him the order. It's hammer time now, Alp. And he's pushing hard to try and open up as big of a gap as possible to his main rival, probably SMM Bean, who can theoretically go to the end of the race. Bean on the back of Bodhod. Sector 1, yellow. Oh, and it's Fenrique. Fenrique is in the wall at the exit of 2. The Brazilian, he has wing damage. He'll have to pit. Fortunately, he's in the pit window to get off the soft tyre onto the hard tyre and go to the end, though he's going to lose a tremendous amount of track position as he runs very, very wide there. At turn 5, gets a bit squeezed by Kittenpetter. Lopez will try to get by as well. Andy and Nicholas side by side, pushing, barging off the racetrack. Ooh, it's close stuff. And Arba looking for a way by, looking around the long way. You can't get this done, Sunshine. Just sit in behind and be patient. JCK. Is that JCK who was spun around? It is. He's got wing damage. You'll have to get into the pits and get that replaced. That safety car saved him. Unfortunately, he's now got damage to ruin his race again. He'll need another safety car to get himself back into it. Battling going on here. Bosnia, Bean, side by side. JCK has crashed out. No, wait, has he crashed out? Virtual safety car deployed, and this will help Fenrique. This will help Fenrique. He will lose nowhere near as much time by pitting. In he comes. Out come the Mercedes pit crew at lightning speed. Wing change and hard compound tyres. And away he goes. You can see he's lost a tremendous amount of time, but if the virtual safety car didn't occur, he would lose so much more. And away he goes. With all the work to do as JCK has left the session of third retirement, and drive-through penalties as well for Peyton and Bodhod. If Bodhod's luck couldn't get any worse, well, it just has. A drive-through that he must serve. No way you can get that removed. As Winger gets past his teammate, probably Peyton just giving up the position there. Wait, no, Peyton's in the wall. He's in the wall at turn 12. Oh, to only rub some more salt into the wound, really. A drive-through penalty. And now this. Yeah, this isn't great. And he has to do a whole lap with that damaged front wing too. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. But the virtual safety car baring its teeth. Bodhod staying out another lap. There's the pit window, now open. Around turn 1, then turn 2. That's incredibly unfortunate for both drivers. They have to deal with that. Mitch Burns looking for a way by United Bosnia, as Nicholas, Armbar and Andy are still having their scrap. They have to be careful how hard they battle as P-Dog retires from the session. He's had enough. Retirement number 4. Nicholas holding off Arbar and Andy at the moment. They need to not battle too hard because they know their main battle is with Alp, as 2 penalties being applied there. Amram, Bean, and also United Bosnia got one as well at turns 11 and 12. We saw when the safety car was at that Bean was on 2 warnings, so it was really a matter of time to when Bean would get that 3-second time penalty. I'm sure Bodhod will be going into the pits this lap. He is. The drive-through penalty, he will serve it. He's going to lose a lot of time here. Tremendous amount of time. Mitch Burns still can't find a way past Bosnia at the moment. The Swede with a penalty next to his name on those medium tyres. I imagine they'll feel a bit better than the soft tyres now. Soft compound deteriorates quite a bit. You can see Nicholas. He'd be desperate to try and get by. Try and put a car between him and Arbar. See on the minimap as well. Alp just dominating, leading the way, pulling away. around turns 11 and 12. As here comes Nicholas down the inside. Or Burns Gibson. Arba almost collects the back of the Haas there. Fortunately, he didn't. Around turn 15, then turn 16. As Amram is into the pits. He's getting off those soft tyres and onto the hard compound to go to the end. Now Mitch has to deal with Arba. See what the Haas can do. Holding his own in 8th place. Doesn't have to give way to the cars behind. This is genuinely for position. Now Nicholas has to find a way past United Bosnia for P6. Oh, running a little bit wide there, Nicholas. Just ever so slightly. He's lost time to the Swede. And he used a hint of overtake to try and claw that back. Locking up a little bit as well at turns 9 and 10. Arba 3-second time penalty, multiple warnings. Now himself and Bean are on the same penalties as of right now. Right up against the grass there. Bean trying to get by Bursey. This is for 4th place. He'll have DRS. It should be a fairly straightforward overtake. I don't think he'll go for it here. He just might actually, though Bursey's defending the inside as he's entitled to. And it just relinquishes a position. He thinks there's no point fighting with the man. I have nothing to gain by doing so, so I'll just let him by. And is that Arba? It is! And Mitch Burns, they are both spun, and thank goodness they are ghosting. Thank goodness they are ghosting, otherwise that would have been a massive accident between Mitch and I think that was Lopez. So these two have had a coming together. Now, does Mitch have damage? No, but does Arba have damage? Oh, he has damage. He definitely has damage. That is a broken front wing if ever I saw one. That would have the same amount of downforce as a flat bit of cardboard, that front wing. It would have no front end grip whatsoever. DRS is re-enabled. We're back under green flag racing. No penalties being awarded for speeding, though there's penalties being awarded for exceeding track limits. That goes to Mitch Burns. Down in 11th place, he's now got 3 seconds. Into the pits come the top 3. Alp followed by Tau, followed by Wingett. As Nicholas getting past Bosnia. This is for 3rd place on track. Where does Alp come out? He might just get in front of Mitch here, who is still out on track and does get in front of Mitch. Crossing the white line on entry, but I see no foul in that. He's trying to open up turn 1 as much as he can though. Stone Tile in 9th place on a set of mediums, so committing to the soft to medium strategy, though these medium tyres aren't going to feel particularly great at the end of the race. You have to do some stint on these tyres. Bosnia now falling vulnerable to Andy Wu and Kitten Petter. Both McLarens P5, P6, well inside the top 10. Closing in on the racing point as they come through turn 13. Then through turns 15 and 16 at the end of the lap, and Bursey's into the pits. Now Bursey, I'm sure, is going on to a set of hard compound tyres to go to the end of the race. There they are. And away he goes. Into the pits goes Mitch Burns as well. So, situation looks like this. Bean with a commanding margin. 6.7 seconds over his teammate COS Nicholas. United Bosnia in third, yet to make a pit stop. Got Andy Wu and Kitten Petter just in behind. So at the moment, McLaren 4 and 5 with Red Bull leading 1 and 2. And in the middle, a Racing Point yet to pit. Lopez spinning round, bringing out the brief yellow flag there. He'll get passed by Arba, I'm sure, into turn 3. There we go. Yes, this train of 4 cars is giving each other a bit of company. They will know if they make one mistake, they're going to be quite vulnerable at the end of the race. Then there's this man, SWM Alp, 3.6 seconds behind the 4 cars in front of him, but on fresh medium tyres and running wide at the final turn as well. That was most likely a warning. He'll be trying to close in as he sets fastest lap at 1 minute 23.052. He'll be trying to close in and get by these drivers as soon as possible to try and challenge Bean for the win. Stone Tower looking good at the moment in 7th place as into the pits goes Bodhard coming in. Payton has left the station, understandably. Onto a set of medium compound tyres to go to the end of the race. Bodhard, he was looking at a solid result, but then a drive-through penalty under safety car, not virtual safety car, I think it was safety car, really ruined his chances. Round turns 11 and 12. Bosnia trying to keep the McLarens at bay, but now he doesn't have DRS, so he's going to be quite vulnerable on the next lap. Kitten Petter following suit. Round the second last corner, which Bosnia misses. He misses the apex completely. Around the final turn, DRS open, using overtake as well. Andy, I think he's going to commit to a move at turn 3 here. He'll try and get a good run through turns 1 and 2. 4th gear, throws it in there. Oh, and he'll get a superb run. Bosnia has really bottled this. He missed the apex at turn 1, which ruined his run through turn 2. And as a result, he sort of have to give up the position there. Down to 4th goes the Swede. He now has Kitten Petter on the back of him. But Bosnia's not giving up. He's right behind the rear wheel there of the McLaren. Very close to touching. Around now into the second sector. See Bosnia losing a lot of ground. As here comes Kitten Petter on the attack, coming towards the heavy braking zone of turn 9. Will he go for a move? No. But Alp closes in rapidly. P6 is now getting into this battle pack as well. And here comes Alp. No way. No way you're going to try and make this stick. It's going to be too wide into turn 11, and he gets it done. Kitten Petter playing a wise game there, just backing out, but he did give himself a penalty. Here comes Alp. Doesn't send it here at turn 13, though Bosnia does the hard work for him, overshooting turn 13 a little bit. As a result, Alp just gets by into 4th place. Next target is Andy, as Enrique gets a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. And into the pits goes United Bosnia. Now, with the laps remaining, I have a feeling that he'll be doing a medium to soft strategy, which would be interesting to watch. Let's have a look. I think those are soft compound tyres. No, they're hards. Interesting. Interesting. Very, very interesting. He's just going to do as few laps as possible on the hard tyre, rather than try and stretch it on the softs. It's a far more safe option. And he's got very fresh tyres as well, so we'll see what the Swede can do. He's just outside the top 10 in 11th. Alp applying pressure. Comes around turn 9, then turn 10. Now, he's not close enough to make the same move he did on Kitten Petter. He'll get DRS here, though. Ooh. Right on the limit, as here comes out down the inside into 13. Andy doesn't give up, he fights and holds it round the outside. Good bit of racecraft there from Andy. Good deal of respect being shown as well. Around turn 15, then turn 16. DRS open again for Alp. He doesn't use overtake, he's going to save it. Try and make the move at turn 3, into turns 1 and 2, fourth gear. Gently on the throttle, then maxes it at the apex of turn 2. DRS open, using overtake again, this time the long way. Can he get this done? Andy's fighting this, he's not giving up. They're side by side, into turn 4. Alp with the inside line and on the better tyre. Gets by. It's now onto the podium in 3rd place. Now Alp's next target is COS Nicholas. Coming towards turns 9 and 10. He's within a second of the Red Bull. Will he think of a move at 13? He's close enough. He might be able to do it here if he's risking it. Oh, he's going to go the long way. This is going to be a ballsy move. They're side by side. And they get it done. Unbelievable. Alp around the outside of turn 11. He's overtaken 2 cars there. He's now into 2nd place. This guy is not mucking around. He is on a charge. His next target will be our current race leader, SMM Bean. 11 seconds separate the two. And when he crosses the line, it's 11 laps to go. Actually, no, it's 12 laps to go. My bad. I thought the lap count was going to jump up to 19 there. No, stays at 18, so it's 12 laps to go. That is some bit of driving there from Alp. He is really not messing around. So, I don't think it's the end for this group. I think there's still a lot of battles to come out of these 3. They're all on the same strategy. They're all within a second of each other. I'm going to assume they all want a podium finish. Meanwhile, Bosnia has closed onto the back of Amram. He'll be looking to battle for that 10th place. It's currently 6/10 behind the Ferrari. He'll get DRS coming out to turn 12. Gap has closed in a little bit between the top 2. Now 10.5 seconds. It was closer to 11 at the beginning of the lap. And Bean does have a penalty next to his name. 3 seconds worth. Oh, Amram, that was close to spinning out there. Great bit of car control to hang on to it. Around turn 1, then turn 2 come this trio of cars battling for 3rd. This will be an incredibly solid day for the McLaren squad if they can maintain these places, though the Stone Towel is closing in. He wouldn't mind a top 5 finish at his home event. Just outside of 3 seconds now. Yeah, you can see there Bean 3 seconds, Kitten Petter 3 seconds. Bersey, United Bosnia, Mitch Burns, Bodhod and Lopez, all of them 3 seconds each. Fenrique has got 6 seconds, same with Arbar. Then there's Amram with a total of 9. So the sort of lower half of the field, probably see a few drivers jump up, jump down because of the penalties. Trio's still fighting. Alp has now closed within 10 seconds. He needs to get within 3 if he wants any chance of taking the win. United Bosnia, another 3-second time penalty. Heading towards Turns 1 and 2. Andy right on the back of Nicholas, but he makes a mistake. And here comes Kitten Petter. He'll have the inside line. A bit of a revving glitch, but that's okay. Petter just falls back in behind his teammate, who locks up through turn 3 and turn 4. But yeah, quite a crucial mistake there. I think Andy was in a fantastic place to try and attack Nicholas. Unfortunately, though, that little twitch at turn 2 cost him a run. Lopez doing a few donuts at turn 16. A little early for that, don't you think, Lopez? He's still getting used to the wheel. Never giving up. Still have plenty of racing to take place, so if there's a safety car at any stage, you never know. You never know. Got Arbar and Mitch Burns, P12 and P13 respectively, fairly close together. We also have Burzy and Fenrique, as Fenrique thought about a move down the inside, committed to it, but couldn't get it done. Sector 3 yellow flags, that is Amram. He has spun out. Ooh, donut ghost. Ooh. That was very close. We'll go with the top 3 first, then we'll have a look at Fenrique and Burzy. Andy not close enough to attack just yet. Stone Towel is closing. Here comes Fenrique. Battle for 8th place on track. Using overtake, using DRS, closes in, closes in, closes in. Or goes down the inside at turn 3. Oh, can't get it done though. He'll have the outside. He makes contact with the Renault. He's looking left and right to try and find a way past, but he's unable to do so. Completes the first sector, round turn 6, then turn 7, into turn 8. Fenrique still really unable to do anything at the moment. Using overtake. Oh, no way. Down the inside. Oh, that was close to chopping off Burzy's front wing. He was millimetres away there. But he's into P8 by the skin of his teeth there. My word, that was close. Amram, a 3-second time penalty down in 14th place on fresh soft compound tyres after making a pit stop. Gap between the top 2 now 8.6 seconds. Just over 7 laps to go. And now the Stone Towel is properly on the back of this. Those hard tyres starting to feel the burn. Stone Towel looking very quick indeed. Right on board with the Australian, making his way around turn 8. Coming up to turns 9 and 10. Down through the gears, locking up the cars in front. At the moment, just needs to try and hit his marks, not make any mistakes. Around turns 11 and 12, does that pretty well. And he's still unable to find a way past Nicholas. And Andy's running even on fuel as well. The yellow fuel icon meaning he's running even. He's got very little in terms of reserve fuel. Here comes Andy using overtake, using DRS. Coming into turn 1, Nicholas defends. Round the outside, overshoots it. Here comes Kitten Petter. Round the outside of his teammate. Oh, and the Stone Towel spins. He spins. Said to keep your nose clean, not make mistakes. He's just made one there. And here comes Wingett into P6. Fenrique and Burzy will close in fast. There we go, falls down to P7. There's the hearse. He has all the work to do once again. Kittenpetter now picks up where his teammate left off, trying to apply pressure to Nicholas. As AM1 sets fastest lap with a 22.8 in the Ferrari. Yeah, Andy trying to commit around the outside. It didn't really work there at turn 1. What he was trying to do was have the inside line to turn 2. Would have gave him the dominant position in that scenario. Unfortunately, he couldn't really hold it there. Kittenpetter closing in rapidly. Shows the nose, doesn't commit to the move though. And with him showing the nose like that, he sort of compromised his run through the entry at turn 1. He should have done that a bit earlier. Because he showed the nose that late that when he tried to get back onto the racing line, he made turn 1 difficult for himself. He lost a little bit of time. Fenrique closing in on the back of the Stone Tower. Those tyres won't feel particularly great right now. And the Brazilian behind doesn't care what tyres he's on. He's just going to fight as hard as he can and try and get by. Around turn 8. Fenrique closing in towards turns 9 and 10. Round the back straight, quote unquote, towards turns 11 and 12, a hot spot for mistakes, it seems. Whoa, yeah, you just can't help but just get a bit of a chill down the back of your spine. Every time you see the cars go through there, it's just, it's not nice. The car always looks unsettled every time it goes through there. It's not a pretty sight. I think Fenrique will try and make some sort of move stick here. Oh, a bit of a mistake though from the Brazilian at the final turn. Has cost him a few precious tenths. That might put a halt to his charge to 7th. Let's see what he does here though. I think he's just going to stick him behind the Haas for another lap, it would seem. Kittenpetter on the back of the Red Bull as Nicholas actually went onto the grass there at the entry to turn 6. Around turn 8, there's Andy. He's dropped off a little bit, hasn't he? But Kittenpetter on the attack, though he has a penalty, so Nicholas shouldn't worry too much. So long as himself, he doesn't get any penalties, he should be on course for 3rd place. Yeah, it just seems like Andy's just fallen off quite a bit, hasn't he? Yeah, so long as Nicholas doesn't get any penalties, he should be on course for a podium finish. Sector 1, yellow flags, that is a Ferrari. That must have been AM1. Looking for a way by Kittenpetter. He'll use DRS, use overtake as well. He's going to commit to something here. He closes and closes. Nicholas defends the inside. Kittenpetter around the outside. It's a replica of a few laps prior. Ooh, that might be a bit interesting. I wonder what Kittenpetter thinks about that. A bit pushed off the racetrack there. Hard racing in my opinion, but I'm sure both Nicholas and Kittenpetter have slightly different opinions about what happened just then. Nicholas was in the dominant position. He was on the inside at turn 1. He more or less dictated the corner. Ooh. Getting a bit sideways. Fortunately, he didn't lose it. And now with the few remaining laps, I'll draw attention to this because this is now starting to hot up. Top 2 are currently separated by 5 seconds. Remember, Bean has a 3-second time penalty. Alp needs to close in about 2 seconds if he wants to take victory. And now there are 3 laps remaining. How much has Alp got left in the tank? This is where I'll bring out the lap data. We had this up in qualifying. Typically I don't show this in the race, but because of the fine margins we're dealing with here between the top 2, it's probably good that we take a look at what laps these 2 guys are setting. But yes, with 3 laps to go. Alp needs to find another 2 seconds. Bean needs to make sure he doesn't make a mistake. AMRAM a 3-second time penalty as Nicholas falls to 5th. He has fallen down to 5th place behind both Kittenpetter and Andy. Was it forcefulness from the McLarens? Was it a mistake from Nicholas? Either way, he needs to find a way past both of them again. Or at the very least Andy. He's lost 2.6 seconds in the first sector. Gap now 4.3 seconds. He is pushing hard. Both of these guys have to go on maximum attack. It's basically qualifying right at the end of the race. Oh, you can see that Bean is just understeering everywhere there. At the final turn, the gap is now 4.1 seconds. He sets a 24.4. Bean, though, is running low on ERS. He is spending everything he's got here. Gap 4 seconds, 2 laps to go. United Bosnia, 3-second time penalty, multiple warnings. Go back to this just ever so briefly, because I'm sure this battle isn't over. And the Stone Towel has gone behind Wingett, and Fenrique is with him as well. These guys are battling hard for position. Wingett currently P6, the Stone Towel in P7. I want to keep my eyes on the leaders, but there seems to be action everywhere else as Andy makes it a move on his teammate down the inside at turn 3. He's into 3rd. Wingett, the Stone Towel, Fenrique, they're battling as well for P6, so Fenrique probably not going to get it as Kittenpetter is forced off the track again by Nicholas, this time at turn 7. They're battling hard, not wanting to give in. Stone Towel still in behind Wingett. Sector 1, yellow flags. That is Arbor. A mistake at turn 5, down in 11th place. Leaders are on the final lap and the gap is just over 3 seconds. Alp needs to find another 10th and a bit if he wants to take victory here, though he might have a bit of traffic in front. Bean has just overtaken AMRAM, as AMRAM is giving Bean a bit of a distraction here. Oh, I guess AMRAM is battling with Bodhod, so I suppose I understand why he's pushing so hard. Nicholas and Andy are side by side, heading down the pit straight towards turn 1. Andy's not giving up. Overcooks the corner, runs wide a little bit, and blocks Nicholas. And here comes Kittenpetter. He's right in behind. Andy defending hard. The Stone Tower 3-second time penalty. Oh, and he's crashed out. He's out. He's retired. No way. He has crashed at turn 2. The exit of turn 2. He is out of the race. Gone. No points at all. There he is there, dead, stricken on the side of the road. Meanwhile, this battle for 3rd is ongoing. They are pushing hard. The leaders, though, are making their way round the final sector. It's been one hell of a charge from this man. He's recovered to within 3 seconds of Bean. Rounding the second last turn. Rounding the final turn is Bean. He will cross the line in 1st place, but because of penalties, it will be Alp who takes victory here at Melbourne. But who takes 2nd? This is still ongoing. 30 seconds behind. It's a big dive bomb from Nicholas. And off the racetrack goes Andy. They are fighting incredibly hard here. Around turn 14, then around turn 50, Andy. Nicholas is blocking. They make contact, and Nicholas is off the road completely. Both McLarens go through, and Wingett tries to find a way past. He might be looking at a top 5 finish, and we'll look at a top 5 finish. Actually, it'll be more. It'll be 4th place for the AlphaTauri. What an insane finish to the race that was. My goodness. So it'll be Andy unofficially claiming 2nd, Wingett in 4th, Kittenpetter in 5th place, and Nicholas in 6th, with Fenrique in 7th, Bursey in P8, Bosnia in 9th. And I do believe Mitch Burns will be rounding out the top 10, scoring 1 point for Haas. What a truly unbelievable finish that was. Crazy. Absolutely bonkers. Oh my goodness gracious me. That, ladies and gentlemen, was a fun ending to a pretty decent race. Deary me. Driver of the day given to Wingit88, finishing in 4th place unofficially. And here is the podium celebration. Some drive from Alp. He didn't cross the line in first, but because of penalties, he will stand on the top step for tonight's race. Alongside him, SWM Bean. He did cross the line in first, but that 3 seconds worth of penalties hurt him too much. And in 3rd place, be Andy Wu in the McLaren, making it a fairly solid day for the orange outfit, finishing P3 and P5 with Kit and Petter starting from 10th, finishing in 5th. I can see why Wingett was given driver of the day. Started from 12th on the grid, finishing in 4th, gaining 8 places over the course of this race. Nicholas finishes in P6 with Enrique in 7th, Bursey in 8th, United Buzzing in 9th, and Mitch Burns rounds out the top 10. Now just quickly, I better get some screenshots of the results. Oops. Get back out of that. Fantastic. Just ever so quickly. Yes, a very interesting race indeed. A lot of stuff happened over the course of this one. Amram claimed fastest lap as well, down in 13th, but that was an ending to a race, wasn't it? You didn't really know where to look. There was a battle for the win that was going on in terms of time penalties. You had the battle for 3rd, and you had a battle, what was at the time, for 6th, which eventually turned into a battle for podium places because of how hard Nicholas and the 2 McLarens were battling. In the end, it was a chaotic finish to that race. Probably one of the more chaotic finishes I have ever seen around here at Albert Park. There was so much going on, and it was absolutely everywhere as well, so you didn't really know where to look. But congratulations to SWM Bean on a fine drive. But unfortunately, mate, those penalties really cost you in the end. It will be Alp that takes victory. He drove well as well. Had the lead after the safety car restart, pulled away on the soft tyre, went on to the mediums. Did some mega overtakes around Nicholas and Kit and Petter around the outside of turn 11. It's very difficult to make those stick, but he did. And we also have Andy Wu on the podium as well in the McLaren, making it 3 different teams on the podium. And I believe 3 different nationalities as well. Turkey, Mexico, and the United States, I believe. But, no, that was one of the better races I think I've seen around Albert Park. Doesn't change my opinion of it though. Shocking racetrack, really is. But on this occasion, had a pretty solid race. Before that, pretty good. After that, well, towards the end, it was bonkers. Absolutely bonkers. Lots of fun indeed. But I do believe that will conclude round 7 of the AM1 Championship on Contest of Speed. Next week, we go from the land down under to Austria. Interesting place, where the hills are alive with the sound of music. Well, at least next week, it will actually be the hills are alive with the sound of horsepower. It's one of the better racetracks on the calendar, Red Bull Ring. Arguably one of the best in the game. It's a very short racetrack, only 10 turns, 4.3 Ks. But you've got a plentiful amount of overtaking opportunities. And from what I've seen there, even in wet conditions, it's still possible to race other drivers. That's a good way of telling how good a racetrack is in terms of its racing. Is when even in the wet, you still get some overtakes going on. You can still make overtakes happen. So next week should be absolutely mega for us as spectators and for the drivers as well. But until then, I've been the Smeg. Excuse me, I'm starting to lose my voice. I've been the Smeg. Thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you next week for the Austrian Grand Prix at the Red Bull Ring. Until then, goodbye.